Efka, do you know that I am now a board game designer?
You're a board game co-designer.
It still counts.
Does it?
Yes.
Okay. What did you co-design?
I designed with two other people,
Okay.
with one in brackets, so maybe three, a game called Cuppy Flippy.
I'm sure you...
Flippy Cuppy? I can't remember.
It's Cuppy Flicky too.
Oh, Cuppy Flicky. I thought it's Flippy.
No, it's Flicky.
I know these things.
Clearly,
Well,
you don't know the name of your own game.
The game is still in development.
Right. Well, thankfully, people can find the rules of this game on Tom Brewster's Twitter in a picture.
Also a co-designer. Welcome to Talk Cardboard, a podcast about board games and everything adjacent with Elaine and...
me, Efka.
So we have maybe one or two more games than we normally have in a podcast episode this time.
It's a slightly unusual episode.
Why is that, Efka?
We went to Germany, Essen Spiel, or as it is now known, Spiel Essen.
I don't know what the difference is.
Well, it used to be Essen Spiel. Now it's Spiel Essen.
Oh, okay.
I know,
Does it
right?
make a difference?
I don't. Well, they changed the halls layout and everything.
I was less concerned about the name than the artwork, so
Yeah,
it passed me by.
big boo-hoo on, what are they called? Merz Verlag or whatever the company is. Shame on you for using AI artwork in promotional materials and draping them all over the halls and internet. Boo, boo. Anyway, we went... because we, had tickets and everything, airplane tickets and hotel tickets. And we thought it's time for us to go out of England and visit a different country.
For the first time in 3 years?
And maybe play some board games. And we did that. We had a lot of fun. We played, as you said, more board games in 2 days than we have in a
more
month.
Different ones, yeah.
Yeah, it was incredible. We've played so many games.
I definitely played more games with more people than I've played in 2 years, probably.
I know, right? It was fantastic. We had a lovely time. We are very tired, and we thought, why not talk about all of them in one single episode? So that's what we're going to do. And not only that, Elaine, what else are we going to do?
We will rank them on how much, loosely rank them, although you think it's quite a strong rank.
I think it's a good ranking.
On how much we enjoyed them.
And we're going to start with the worst and end with the best. And also, we're going to have a bonus episode. We're going to talk about some games that aren't available for purchase. So, insider stuff for those of you on the hunt for the cool new board game. Spoilers, they're all trick takers.
First, we need to talk about a special mention of Karvi.
Oh boy, Karvi. Karvi is a board game, Viking themed rondel Euro game from Hans im Glück that I have got on Thursday, and then on Friday I've set it up. I've learned the rules and it was on the table and we never played it. And then someone spilled a drink on it. And then we packed it up and
Poor
my boy
Karvi
Karvi just sits there unplayed. I'm sure there'll be more words on Karvi in the future, but for now, Karvi, he done a marvelous job.
Away.
Yeah, it's the one that got away. Anyway, what's first on the ranking list?
Before we go on to the ranking, we have to talk about a couple of games that didn't make the ranking, not because they were bad, but because they're older, and it didn't seem fair to the ranking system.
It didn't, because one of them would trounce all of them. And that one is El Grande. There's a new edition of El Grande. It's a gorgeous edition. So Hans im Glück, mentioning them once again, did a fantastic job of reducing plastic. It's not plastic free because there's still shrink wrap on the box, but all the cards are wrapped.
Positive steps though.
Yeah, all the cards are wrapped in wax paper rather than shrink wrap. There's very little plastic in the box. The only plastic component I found was the little pips that join the dials together, because I don't think they quite figured that out, how to do it without a plastic pip, kind of, because they need to.
Yeah, they need to squash through to connect. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't know how you do that without plastic. Maybe metal, but that's,
heavy.
That's heavy and expensive. So anyway, it's mostly plastic free. Nice little tuck boxes that you composed, and I'm sure we talked about El Grande on the podcast before, either in the main episode or bonus episode. But El Grande, still a fantastic game from 1995, I want to say.
It's old, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been at the top of this list, but it's a reprint, so it goes not in the ranking.
I also played a game called Bruxelles 1893, or Brussels 1893, which is also a reprint, which is why we didn't want to put it in the main ranking. It's a worker placement game with bidding, which I do not like bidding, but it's not the main mechanism. So it's about like buying art and selling art, and there are these men that help you on your journey, and I underranked the men, so I didn't do that well. I were like, I don't need these people in my life, and I did poorly.
Elaine, what did you bid on in this game?
I don't quite remember what we were bidding on. We played a lot of games, and they've gone into like an amalgam in my head and I can't remember exactly which bit is from which game, so I don't quite remember, but it was fun.
Okay, but that's all I need to know. Like, if it didn't leave a lasting enough impression out of all these games, then maybe Bruxelles, whatever the year is.
1893.
1893. Is it 1893? I thought it was like 1890. Never mind.
I think so.
All I remember about this game is how striking the cover was, and I always wanted to try it, and I always heard, it's all right, and I never did. And now you've played it, and a week later, you don't remember much about it. So that tells me all I need to know.
There was a good area majority bit in it, though, where you were placing people on. Oh, that's what you were bidding for. So you were bidding for the places where you put your little people on. But there was a good area majority that we kind of almost forgot at times, and then went, I didn't put enough people down in the same area. It was good. There was a lot to think about. I maybe didn't have the brain power at that point to play it when I played it.
Do you think I should try it?
Yeah, I think you'd enjoy it.
Great. I want to tell you very quickly about a little game called Nana, or as it's known in the version that is widely available, Trio. So this is a weird little card game that Per Sylvester showed us that is basically a memory game. Right. What happens in it is you get dealt a hand of cards, and they're going to be numbers from like 1 to 12, I think. And you have, I think, 6, maybe 7. I think 7 cards or something like that. And on your turn, there's also like some cards on the table, and everyone's holding cards, right? On your turn, you can either flip a card from the table face up, or ask a person what their lowest or highest card is, right? And so the whole thing is that you can keep doing this as long as you're hitting cards of the same value. And as soon as you get 3 of them, you get to rip them out of the table or people's hands and score them once, right? So they're out of the game and you scored them. If you score it 3 times, you win. Or if you score 3 sevens, you win immediately, because 7s are so hard because you can only ask for the lowest or the highest card, right? So, and that's kind of the game. So a lot of the game is like, I'll flip a card, let's say from the table. It's a 10. And then I'll ask Elaine, hey, Elaine, what's your highest card? You reveal 11, right? That's my turnover. That's it. I don't get to do anything. And also I can refer to my own hand. Let's say you had a 10 and the highest card in my hand was also a 10, right? I'd be like, I'll pick myself, and I'll say the highest card, take it out of my hand, so I've got 10 from the table, 10 from you, 10 from myself. That's it. I scored once, right? That's it. That's kind of the game. It is a memory game, especially at higher player counts. We played, I think, with 6 or something like that. So it was a lot of remembering whose lowest card was what, whose highest card was what, which card is which on the table, because I think it's like 2x4 on the table or something like that. So 8 cards is a lot to remember.
I don't think it's as much of a memory game as that Oink Essen Special game.
Yes.
Where you have a potential of having to remember
Oink
42 cards.
Yeah, Oink, Itten, and what was the third publisher?
Sashi and
Sashi, yeah. That was a little game released by Oink, I think, that kind of conglomerated the games from all these 3 publishers into a memory game. It was fine. But yeah, no, it's not as much of a memory game as that. It's clever. It's got these like cool little clever moments. You can pick up Trio very easily. I think it's like £10 or something like that. And it's quite a clever little card game if you don't mind memory elements.
Let's move on to the ranking. So coming in at number 17, we have Here Comes the Dog.
Second edition. So Here Comes the Dog is from Itten, which is a Japanese publisher that often produces games with really lovely components. Here Comes the Dog is definitely a game with really lovely components. It's a game about the taming of dogs in the ancient times when dogs were not tamed yet. And so they would circle the fires until we would feed them, and they would learn that actually we want to be friends as the two species that likes to cook meat on the fire. So it's like, I don't know, you roll a dice each turn and you take something from the fire, or then you round ends and you have to feed the dogs, or the dogs attack you. It was rubbish.
So you played this and I didn't, right? And I didn't understand, when you were taking things out of the fire, did it matter if the fire collapsed or no?
No, it didn't.
No, 'cause
there's no dexterity element.
All right.
So the things in the fire are meat, charcoal, and fire.
Why would you give a dog charcoal?
No, you want the charcoal.
Oh, right.
Right? Because you can exchange the charcoal for food.
Oh.
On a latter turn. Okay. It didn't make it was rubbish. It looked so pretty because you have this like very evocative fire piece in the center.
Yeah, it looked great,
and you have like people surrounding it and like dogs surrounding the people. Like the pieces are wonderful. The game is poo-poo. I did not appreciate it.
In at 16, we have Stitch for Stitch. So when our friend got this game out, I was like, oh, it's Guess Who? And he went, you're not super wrong there, because you are trying to deduce who committed a crime. It's like a kind of Guess Who crossed with
Mysterium?
Cluedo or something, where you're having to guess the person. Oh yeah, maybe Mysterium, where you're guessing the person and the weapon that they've done it with. But then, once you've guessed, the game does not stop, because it's also a trick taker.
Yeah, that's the weird part of the game. So you're using trick. One person is always like the person that knows the information, and they have to play tricks in such a way as to obfuscate what the trump is, because the weapon and the murderer are suits and like symbols on cards, and if they are the weapon or the murderer, the symbols or the suits, then they are trump. But only the person who knows the information knows that they are trump. So they have, when you play a hand of a trick-taking game, they have to say who wins, because it might not be evident.
Right, you're trying to glean information from that.
Yeah, and they also have to play the trick-taking game themselves. It was weird. It felt like two good ideas that were each not executed well and then glued together. It just didn't work.
I did feel a bit sorry for it, because it's clearly a very small publisher. I don't know who the publisher is, I don't remember, but it's clearly a very small publisher, and the components were awful. Like the first time we got something out of the box, it had torn.
Yeah.
So
the artwork wasn't great either.
No, I feel a little bit sorry for it. And I think it has potential. Like if it could be, I don't know, smoothed out, if both the elements could be amalgamated a little bit better. I don't know.
It's just a game that needs more work. Cool idea, doesn't work.
At 15, we have Sunrise Lane, which is also a game that you played, which I did not.
It's first Knizia entry in this Spiel roundup. And Knizia doesn't always design a good game. This is a re-implementation of the game. So the people who made it, which is Horrible Guild, which is a publisher I really like and I appreciate their output. I don't know why they picked this up. They made a lovely looking production of Sunrise Lane. But
it looks super.
It looks super. It has some issues. Even the production itself, right? So the idea is that you're basically building buildings, right? And there's a ticket to ride style mechanism of you either play cards or you draw cards on your turn. And when you play cards, you want to match the color of the space that you are putting the pieces on. And where you're putting the pieces on, and so you're building a city, right, effectively. So you're building like buildings. Where you're putting the pieces on, each space has a point value, right? So for example, let's say there's a green space with 2, and then a yellow space with 1, and then a blue space with 3. I could play green, yellow, blue, and build 1 building on each, and then I would get 2, 1 plus 3, 6 victory points. Or if I had in my hand, say, 1 green, 1 yellow, and 3 blue, for whatever reason, right? I could build 1 building on green, 1 building on yellow, that's 3 victory points, then 3 buildings on blue, because I played 3 blue cards, and they stack on top of one another. And that would multiply the points I get from it. So it would be plus 9 points, right? Yeah. So it's all about kind of sculpting the perfect hand. But unlike Ticket to Ride, you can't even sculpt the hand because there's a hand size of 5. So you don't get these satisfying big kablooms.
You did not look like you were having an exciting time.
We were miserable. So
you looked miserable.
There's some extra elements like areas where you want to have the biggest building, areas where you want to have the most building, and then you want to also have the longest chain of buildings. It was really pedestrian. It was fine. I think maybe someone at Horrible Guild maybe really liked the original version of this game, which I can't even remember the title of, but I thought it was okay.
Is the original version an older game? Or?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so this is a reprint of a Knizia.
I see.
It was fine. All the other Knizia games on this list are better.
At 14, we have Couture. There's a bit of a caveat with this game because we did not finish it.
That's true.
Because I don't know why we didn't finish it. I think we just ran out of steam with it.
Yeah, I think people were not like engaging with it very much.
No, it was a strange game. It was a card game where you're trying to collect things and you're bidding on 3 different cities, New York, Paris and London or Tokyo. I can't remember what the third city was. But you're kind of bidding your cards and then you will... If you win the bid, you will get to take something from that. If you're second, you might get to take something and so on. And some of the cards are negative cards, so you might not want to be left with them. So you are kind of working out, do I bid high because I really want a card, or do I bid high because I don't want one of these cards and I don't want it to be the one that I have to take? And it was very strange because there were some set collection elements to it where you had to collect like a pair of trainers and you only got one trainer at a time, and then you would get points based on that. And then there was this other element where you had to fulfill like these objectives. That's where the game lost me a bit. I didn't understand why I needed to fulfill these magazine objectives.
Well, because they gave you points, right?
But that was all it was. Like, oh yeah, okay, it's to get the points. It was okay. We just ran out of steam a bit on it.
I liked it more than everyone else at the table. I thought it was half of a good Knizia bidding auctioning game, right? It's just the scoring mechanisms weren't particularly interesting.
It's not a Knizia game.
It's not a Knizia game.
Just for anyone listening that's confused.
It's not a Knizia, but it is that Knizia realm of games, you know, that sort of style. I thought a lot of it was clever, and I wonder if repeated plays would make it shine a little bit more. There's some nice elements. So your hand is like bidding cards, and you arrange them. You have these spacers that are the 3 cities.
Yes.
And like, so one card is New York, Paris, and the other one is Paris, Tokyo. And so you arrange all your cards between these 2 cards to say how much you're bidding in each, and then you reveal your hand. There's a nice bit of showmanship there.
Yeah.
There's also this cool bit that you don't just bid on cards that score you points. You can also bid on cards that will go into a hand,
which will be better bidding cards for the future.
Or cards that specifically add towards specific elements. And you could take a 0 bidding card, but it gives you points and it lets you bluff. Like, I think there's a lot of hidden depth in this game, and we were playing it in the wrong environment.
I think so. Yeah, I think the way we learnt it and played it was not necessarily the best. I would like to play it again. We have a copy of it, so I'd quite happily play it again. Not in a very busy, very loud environment where we've had like 2 hours of sleep.
Well, also what doesn't help, this is from publisher Allplay, they are notoriously bad at rulebooks. They will make rulebooks too short on purpose as their thing. I don't get the thing. The rulebooks are bad. And when you have this short rulebook and you're trying to teach people and you don't quite understand how the game works from the rulebook, that's a big no-no.
Which is especially not helpful when you're in like a high pressure environment like that, where you've got 3 other people sitting around a table waiting for you to learn the game, because you think, oh, it's only a small rule book, it's short, I can learn this, and then the rule book is bad, and then you can't learn it. And I think that's a real
pitta.
What's a pitta?
Well, it's an acronym for a certain type of pain in a location.
Okay, I'm not saying pitta. It's weird.
I just came up with that.
At 13, we have Ninja Master, which is a Knizia.
Yeah, it's a weird Knizia. So, okay, I think maybe it's too high, honestly. I think maybe it's too high because all this game
you really liked it.
I did like it. So this is from Itten, and it comes in a sort of a like very, very long and thin box, effectively. It's a small box as well. It's very cute. It's about grabbing things very fast. That's the game. So imagine that game that where everyone grabs things very fast, like any of those games that you've played, but it's designed by Knizia, right? That's the selling point.
It's like Hungry Hippos, except it's your hand like moving into the grab the meeples rather than hippo.
Yeah. So the idea is that one person rolls the dice onto the center space on the table, and then all the people, as soon as the dice are rolled, you can start grabbing things. You can grab the ninjas. So, for example, if you grab a blue ninja, then you will score the number of blue symbols on the dice. However, if one of the symbols is a blue cloud, then you'll score that many negative points. So you don't know whether you're grabbing positive points or negative points. You can grab a sword, in which case you'll steal some points from someone, and then you can also shout out any number. You can shout out any number, but if you're correct, and the total number of ninja symbols on the dice is that number, then you will score some points as well.
I just kept shouting out numbers.
Yeah, but that scored you negative points.
But I was doing so badly anyway.
Didn't matter.
Okay, so this is not a game to play if your dexterity is not that high that day. If you're not having a good fingers day, it makes it much harder, because I don't know if you did this too, but when I went to grab something, I was grabbing 2 at a time.
Yeah, but that's good. You want to grab 2
But you're not supposed
things.
to. You're only allowed to grab one
no,
thing.
you can grab as many as you want.
Can?
I think so.
I
think we were cheating.
Okay.
Yeah.
But and also the arena is this little cardboard arena. It's very thin. It's like, half a centimetre thick, like length, and it moves around the table.
Yeah.
Like we were grabbing it, and the whole arena was flying off.
It really was.
It was funny. I mean, it was funny.
It was funny, and I think as a little party game, it was punching a little bit above its weight.
I may have had a couple of sherbets by then anyway, so it was quite a good game to be playing then.
I think I was having mojitos that day, so I was primed for it. I was primed to enjoy it. It was all right. I liked it. I think as a grab things fast game, it was fine.
At number 12, we have Havalandi, which is another Knizia game, but one that I played and you did not.
Is this the highest? No, this isn't the highest ranked Knizia on this list, is it?
It's not, because there's one
There's
more.
one more, yeah. And one that we brought home and never played, so it's not on this list, which is Mlem Space Agency. So that's not on the list. We're not ranking that, letting people know. So, Elaine, all I know about Havalandi is that there's a air balloon.
I remember.
And what do you want a balloon to do? You want it to land.
No,
so you have a landy.
Oh, I see. Oh my goodness, it was a setup for a joke this entire time. I don't know what it means. I don't know what Havalandi means.
Havalandi.
But no, you
like have a banana.
What? But no, you don't want the balloon to land. You want it to take off. The balloons are already on the ground. You want them to go up.
Are you saying that it should have been called "Don't Have a Landy"?
I have a
uppie. Yeah.
that doesn't sound right. I don't know what it means. But it's a game where you are placing your balloons on it's kind of a grid, and you're trying to place balloons next to each other. Well, you have to kind of place balloons next to each other, but this kind of dirigible thing moves around the board and tells you where you roll a dice, move this dirigible thing, and that tells you where you can place. So you can place, like, it has 2 arrows coming off it, and you can place in that line or that line. But they can also be next to another thing that you have placed instead, as long as it's on the same type of terrain. So I think there are 5 different types of terrain on this board, and so they don't have to go down those paths if it is something next to something that is on the same terrain. And then you can launch the balloons, and you get more points for the more different types of terrains that you launch these balloons in that are all connected together. But you must always have a balloon on the gravel path for some reason, and then that will allow you to launch everything else. And I don't know why that's the case. And then there's some like end game scoring as well, like having the most launched balloons or having the most balloons together in a group, you know, stuff like that.
You don't sound particularly inspired or interested.
So I think Tom was playing. I played this game with Tom, lovely Tom from Shut Up and Sit Down, and Tom took this game away because he developed this strategy, which I don't think he meant to, but he developed this strategy to just build everything all together. So the board is kind of triangular. So one of the corners, or 2 of the corners, in fact, are just sand. And he started building in this sand area, and because when you place the next balloon, you don't have to place it along the lines that the dirigible points to. You can place it next to something you've already played as long as it's within the same terrain. He just took it away because he was like, right, I do this one, I do this one, I do this one, I do this. And he just had this massive area of balloons, and we were all just like putting balloons everywhere on the board. And he just took the game, he took off.
I'll be honest with you, it sounds like a fever dream. There's balloons, dirigible, sand, Knizia points.
Or maybe it wasn't a dirigible that moved around. Maybe it's the wind. It was the wind that moved around.
Okay.
The wind blew in different directions, and I don't know why you could place your balloon there because you were placing the balloon on the ground. It didn't make any sense, and it felt like a fever dream playing it. I didn't not enjoy it. I enjoyed the game that we had, but I'm not sure that I would rush to play it again.
All I know is that I got some very dirty looks because I was on the other side playing Trio, and then people were playing the Order Overload game from Oink.
Yeah.
And we were laughing, right? And your side of the table looked miserable.
We were serious about launching the balloons.
And every time you looked at us, you gave us this really dirty look, like, how dare you laugh?
Why are you having fun?
Yeah,
it was a little bit of a dry struggle of a game, I think. We didn't have the hilarity that you seem to be having on the rest of the table.
Well, there you go. Don't Havalandi is our verdict.
At number 11, we have Tangram City.
Oh, we both played this, didn't we?
We did.
So this is from Uwe Rosenberg, and whilst it's not a Knizia, it's probably an answer to Knizia. It's almost like a game that was designed to riff on My City, Rainer Knizia's legacy game. Tangram City is not a legacy game. Tangram City is just build a city, but with tangrams, which I kept forgetting the word for and kept calling them Tetra Paks.
Which is a type of carton.
And also can be if you sort of like, you know, undo one bit and point it upwards, it looks like a 3D tangram, right?
That's true.
Yeah, there you go. So Tangram City, like, is just a tile laying game where you're trying to be very efficient about laying tiles. The tiles there's various different tangram shapes, which are like basically squares with a triangle added to it, if you don't know what a tangram is. So you'll get a card, and that card says you're going to place this piece. Everyone's going to place this piece this round. But everyone gets a card, and the last 2 people have to share a card between them. And there's also one card flipped randomly off the top. So the first shape, no one knows what it's going to be, but you all see it immediately, and then you place it. And then one person flips their card in turn order over, and that's the shape
So
everyone's
everyone
placing.
has an idea of one of the things that are going to come out, one of the shapes. that are gonna come
Exactly,
out.
but most of the shapes are very annoying.
And they point in the wrong directions.
Yes, but you can flip it into the right direction. But then it's either a park on one side or a city on the other side, and you want to have like a perfect balance of parks and cities.
Yes.
And you also want to have, by the end of the round, the largest rectangle, so because that's going to score you extra points. And then you also want to fill up the entire board because
That's points.
that's points. Yeah, if you fill up the entire board, it's points.
15 points, I think it was, or something.
Yes, you get a bonus. You get the patchwork bonus. If you do the 7x7, like literally like in patchwork, you get a 15-point bonus. So it was fine. I didn't like it, but everyone else on the table enjoyed it more than I did, including you, which I was surprised by because you didn't like my city that much.
No, I'm just not very good at visualizing shapes. So it's never a game that I do very well at. But I don't dislike. I liked how everyone knew already something that was going to come out. So it wasn't totally secret information. But there was one card that was always secret information. And also you knew what was left in the deck because once you'd taken the pieces for this round, they were gone. It wasn't like there was multiples of all of them. So you knew roughly what was going to come out next. So that I quite enjoyed about it. And I enjoyed the artwork.
The artwork's nice. It's a nice looking game. My criticism of Tangram City is that I think you're going to play it out quite quick. Like, it felt like a puzzle that you can, I don't want to say solve, but like you get the idea. Like you can learn to be good at this
Efficient.
game where
Yeah, I
like
think you can.
the range between I'm winning and I'm not winning is so minuscule, you know, like where everyone just kind of goes, oh, okay, this piece would work with that piece, because every piece comes out a certain number of times, once or twice in the entire game. So you can sort of visualize the layout that's gonna get you towards that bigger rectangle every round. And I don't know, it just felt like a puzzle that I've seen one time too many, and I'm just okay not playing it. It was nice, and I think no one who's gonna play this is not gonna enjoy it, right? But wait, no, that
was too many negatives in there, I think.
No, that's fine. Not gonna enjoy it. They will enjoy it, you know.
No one who's gonna play this will not enjoy it.
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
Okay.
But I will say that, well, obviously also with the caveat that you have to want a tile laying game, right?
Yeah.
A simple tile laying game. But otherwise, I just, apart from the idea of tangrams, there weren't any bells or whistles there that made it any special or, you know, super interesting.
At number 10, we have Quicksand.
This is from publisher Horrible Guild, and they had 2 games out this year, apart from various similar expansions. And this is the one I liked a lot more. Now, it's at number 10. I think it's good. It's at number 10 because you were just like, nah.
I didn't enjoy it that much, no.
I thought it was quite clever. So this is a real-time sand timer game. And it's called Quicksand because the sand go down quick.
Like
and also, it's sort of, I think the thematic idea is that you're trying to climb out of quicksand.
I don't know.
Before the time runs out.
Maybe.
Yeah.
What a dark theme.
It is. So all you're trying to do in this game is move sand timers, and you need to keep this balance between them so they never run out. And every time it's your turn, you have to play one card. That card could have a color or a shape. And then each sand timer is placed in a circle on tiles that both have a shape and a color, right? And if your sand timer is on the color or shape that you've just played, it flips and moves one space, right? And so it's all about sort of timing because it's an open information game. You can talk with each other, you know, you can say, I have these cards, what do you have?
But you don't have that long to talk because the sand time, it's not like you start the round and then stop it because the sand times are still ticking down the entire time.
They never stop ticking.
Never stop.
And that's what I really liked about it. There's a constant pace of pressure, but it's not so high that it doesn't give you time to communicate, you know? There's a very nice tempo to it where it's like, you know, like...
That was nice.
Yeah, it never overwhelms you. And obviously, like, we're not playing at that speed that I just intonated, but like... I'm
It
hoping
was more like, huh.
Yeah, right. And you have time between each player's turn to quickly say, "Hey, do you have something?" And they go, "No." Well, then play anything. It doesn't matter. Then the next person
can say,
plays.
"Oh, I've got something really good for this
Yes,
time." Yeah.
yes. Or someone will shout like from like the other end of the table, and they'll say like, "I have something good," and you're like, "But you're far away, so we might just like play duff cards very quickly to get to them, and they'll play the card, and then it'll move the sound timers." It's not. There's like a bunch of scenarios. There's also like a little mini expansion that gives you the death timer.
Yeah, because it's like 3 seconds long or something.
No, it's not 3 seconds long. It's just that if it runs out, then you lose instantly. Whereas in the basic game, if a sand timer, you can rescue a sand timer. Yeah. There's also this nice bit where, like, if they get to the end, you can't move them and they can't run out. So if you're pushing one timer, like, just all the way to the end, that's not going to work because
you have to balance all three of them.
Yeah. It's nice. I liked it.
We played the initial scenario and it was fine. I don't feel like I want to ramp up the difficulty anymore.
We finished with like a second left or something like that. It was nice. But the thing is, that's the nice reason about having like many scenarios is that the more you play something like that, the better you get at it, right? And you want that up challenge. I think it's a nice little game, and if you like the idea of real-time cooperative kind of moving stand timers around, it's good. I think it's designed very well. It's a concept game, and if the concept sounds good, the game is good. If the concept does not sound good, stay away.
At number 9, we have Extravaganza, which I played, but you did not. Extravaganza is a game about lip sync battles, which I've learned is a thing that happens in real drag shows. This is a game about putting on a drag show and not singing. You don't actually sing, you just have to lip sync, but there is no actual lip syncing in it. You just get a tile and it has some lyrics on it, and it's sort of set collection of lyrics. But you've each got a drag queen. Mine was called Modern Tart, so you can pick your drag queen on like the name and the look that you want to go for, and then you are moving around this little board that has gems on it, and you are collecting the gems. And you move like a queen in chess, which I thought was quite appropriate. That's good. So you can move in any direction, and you can move as many number of spaces as you want to. But the gem that you land on, say it's a blue gem, you will be able to collect all of the blue gems that you have passed through on that move. And you want to collect the same colour gems because they will allow you to play cards. And the cards will do various things that will get you more lips because you have to collect lips in order to do the singing. It's out there. It is really out there.
It sounds like almost like when you're playing Guitar Hero and you hit the right note and it's like, sparkles fly across the air.
That's how it felt,
like you're scoring points and you're collecting, because you're collecting resources in this, right?
Yeah, lips.
Yeah, lips.
And gems.
And gems, yeah. No, that sounds out there. Is the game good?
I didn't have a bad time playing it. I don't think it necessarily does anything that we haven't seen in games before, but you're set collecting and you're collecting resources and using those resources to pay for other things and getting points. But it does some of those in a clever way. And I think the replayability of it would be good. If you enjoy that kind of setting, I think the replayability would be good. So
it's more setting than game. Like game's all right, setting great.
It's a decent game, but it's just not the best game. And like I said, I don't think it does anything extravagant with any of the mechanisms. But what I really liked about it was that if you're someone who really likes RuPaul's Drag Race or the drag shows and you've never played a board game, it might be something that might get you into it. I don't think...
Oh, nice.
I think you would need someone who already knew how to play the game. I'm not sure it would be good for a very, very, very beginner who's never ever played a board game before. But if you've played a few board games, then I think it would be fine. And I like that about it. Number 8, we have Nuts A Go-Go. This was so silly. I think this wins the prize for the most ridiculous game on this list.
This is the stupidest game, definitely. I really enjoyed it.
Mr. Peanut or whatever his name was.
Antonio P. Nuts.
Why Antonio?
I don't know. It's so random. This is the first player marker, which is a human peanut. It's quite a big, chunky wooden piece as well. And his name is Antonio P. Nuts. Oh, it's so good. Nuts A Go-Go is from Itten, I want to say. And it's a box full of nuts, like literally.
I mean, they're not real nuts.
No, yeah, they are wooden nuts, but there's mushroom nuts, baby nuts.
Cone nuts.
Dice
nuts.
Ring nuts. Yeah, like the nuts aren't even real.
No, they're not nut-shaped.
Yeah.
They're just wooden pieces.
Which doesn't make any sense. But you also have a paper cup, a tiny paper cup. An obscenely tiny
like
paper cup.
Like a shot glass.
Yeah, like a shot glass. And you need to fit like the most nuts in it.
Into the cup.
Much like Ninja Masters before it, this is a game where you grab things as fast as you can and as many as you can. And you have all these different shape of nuts and you put them in your cup, right? And anything that spills out, you don't get to have. At one point, a person can grab Antonio P. Nuts and they shout, Antonio P. Nuts. At which point, a countdown of 10 starts. And if you're not finished by 10, you have to stop grabbing nuts, which is way more time than anyone needs. But the last person to grab nuts will have to give one nut to the person who took Antonio P. Nuts. And even if they can't fit it in their cup, apparently that's fine.
Oh.
Yeah. So then this is where the game begins, right? You kind of cover up your cup of nuts and spill them out. And then starting with the person who grabbed Antonio, they take out one shape and everyone has to present that shape from the nuts that they've grabbed.
Give me your nuts.
If they can't, they've lost. That's it. They're out of the game. And you keep doing that. Until
so you want a mixture of nuts.
Yeah, you want
cup.
like an even mixture of shapes that you can always present a different shape. And the person who presents the nut always rotates. So it's like, one person does a barrel nut and everyone has to
barrel nut.
There is a barrel nut, yeah. Everyone has to present a barrel nut. If they don't have it, they're out of the game. Then the next person presents a cone nut.
But the weird part was that there were bigger cones and smaller cones.
Yes.
And you could present either.
Yeah, it's
as
fine.
As long as it was a cone nut.
If you grabbed if you
fine.
took time to grab smaller pieces, like you could fit more of them in your cup. Whereas everyone outrageously goes, grab the nuts quick. You can be like a little bit more methodical because you have at least 10 seconds to grab the nuts that you need to fill your cup, right? It's plenty of time.
Yeah, it really is, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's very funny. We played a variant as well where you have to present the nuts by grabbing them with one finger from your cup, like with one hand, but effectively the cup is so small you could only fit like maximum 2 fingers in it.
But you are allowed to hold on to the cup with your thumb whilst you scoop out the nut with your finger. That's
if you scoop out something extra, that's out of your cup.
Gone,
yeah, you can't have
Sorry.
it. Yeah, it's very funny. I had such a blast playing this. Most people were like, well, this is fine for a game that you play once, and I don't disagree, but also I just, at the end of a game night, if you say, can we play Nuts A Go-Go? And I don't see people saying no, because
I think people would like to play this more than just once.
Yeah.
I think that's not true. I don't think people would just go, oh yeah, that was fine, go away now.
It's the best game from It and I played that isn't Crash Octopus. That's what I would say.
At number 7, we have the last Knizia on this list. It is Viking Sea-Saw.
Another Itten title. So this is the best
Knizia.
Knizia on the list. I guess this is better than Natsagogo. I said this. I just lied in the previous segment. I said this is the best eating game that's not Crash Octopus, and then we have another one. So okay, this is the second best. Natsagogo was the second best eating game that isn't Crash Octopus. I forgot about Viking Sea-Saw. Viking Sea-Saw, honestly, it's probably better than Crash Octopus. I think it's the best eating game, period.
The problem with this game was that, so we played 2 different copies of this game, and both copies had some kind of fault, which did affect the game because you are trying to balance out this seesaw, effectively. It's a boat, which is why it's a Viking seesaw. And everyone is putting something on the high up end of the seesaw, the end in the air, and trying to make it not go down. And the problem was, one of the pieces was one of the men. So there's like there was a gem and 2 different types of ball, and a gold and a silver piece, and a man like Meeple. And the Meeple was only half there, which made him half as heavy as he should have been. And the other game, you're supposed to have a little flag that sticks up in the middle, and I don't know how much that affects the weight distribution, but it was broken. So I don't know if that affected our games.
None of these were our copies. Our copy is fine,
our
actually.
Copy is fine.
But the really clever thing about this game is that each piece has a different weight. Yeah. So even if they're the same material, there'll be different sizes. And if they're a different material, they're a different weight. So, for example, there's 2 metal cubes, silver and gold. And
the
they
gold
weigh...
is much heavier.
Yeah, they
than
weigh
silver.
differently. And the marbles, there's 2 different kinds of marbles. One's plastic, one's metal, right? The metal one is heavier. And it's a very simple game. You place a piece on the seesaw, right? And if it tilts, you have to take a piece.
You have to take one of the cargo, which is in the middle of the seesaw.
Yeah, so you don't want it to tilt. Also, anything that falls out, you have to take that as well. And you want to end the game with either the least pieces or just with none pieces, right? And that's it. And the only strategy to this game is basically, do I think it's going to tilt? And if so, shall I place my heaviest piece rather than my lightest piece? Yes. That's it. That's the only strategy in this game.
So one of the pieces is like a little hair tie, which is your circle that you keep your pieces in. And when I showed it to you, I was like, oh, look at this Viking hair tie. And you're like, whose is that? Like, you thought someone had just left like a random hair tie on the table.
It's ridiculous. But it's a very charming game. It's a very little box. And it's actually surprisingly fun for we'll just, place things down. It is once again place things to balance things. That's a genre of games we've seen before. But again, Knizia. So just a little bit more thought and care than you might have seen previously. If you're not after that kind of thing, you're not going to like it. But we liked it. We thought it was fun. I think the games are getting a bit more serious on the list from now on.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, okay, so this is the last silly game, Viking Sea-Saw. We had fun. We do recommend it if it's the sort of thing you think you will enjoy.
And number 6, we have Tiger and Dragon.
So Tiger and Dragon is sort of a trick-taking game. It's a climbing shedding game almost, because like in many climbing shedding games, you want to get rid of your cards, from the hand. In each turn, you get to play one card, except, they're not cards. They're sort of
mahjong tiles.
Yeah, mahjong tiles, but without the nice wooden bamboo backing. Just like clacky, plasticky mahjong tiles. It is a surprisingly deceptive game in just how simple it is. Because the first time we were playing it, I was like, but where is the game? And then 2/3 in of the way through, it clicked, right? So there are tiles with numbers, 1 through 8. But the number of tiles with each number is equal to that number. So there's only 1 1, 2 2s, 3 3s, 4 4s, 8 8s, and so on. And there's also, they're also color-coded. So each, I want to say even is a blue and odd is a red. And so there's a red
Tiger?
Dragon.
No.
Blue tiger.
Is that way around?
I think so.
I believe you.
So those match any of the blue or any of the red tiles, right? So it's kind of like a Joker piece, but only for that color.
And only for defense.
No, you can attack with them.
You can
Yeah, we found out you can attack with them.
Oh, we played that wrong.
So the idea is that you, like, let's say I play a free, right? Then the next person down the line has to either pass or play a free. Very simple, right? So if they have a free, they play a free. If they don't have a free, they can't play a free. That's it. If you pass, obviously you don't get to put out a tile. And because you want to put out a tile, because you want to get rid of your hand fastest, putting down a tile is good, not putting down a tile is bad. Here's the trick, right? The game comes alive when you realize there's only 3 frees, right? So let's say I put down a free. The next person, if they have a free, they could put it down, or they could realize that if they pass, someone else is probably going to put down their free afterwards, and you'll be the only person with a free left. If you play a tile and the turn goes back round to you, everyone passes, you get to put down an extra tile face down so no one knows what the number is, and that's like a big bonus. And also you get like a bonus point, but that bonus point only activates if you win the round. It kind of gets a little weird, and there's a number of different scoring conditions for the round that change from round to round that don't feel that different. And the game is very demure, but I liked it. It's got nice clacky pieces. It's got very simple gameplay, but a touch more cleverness than you originally give it credit for. So I think Tiger and Dragon is not going to blow people away, but it was nice. And it's definitely got table presence, and it's very teachable. It is.
I like how it had lots of different scenarios too.
Yeah, there were some that were a bit kind of kookier, like where you have to play with one tile face up, and if it's the last tile that you play, like you end the round with that tile and win, you get bonus points. You know, stuff like that. It has its charm, and I don't know if it's gonna win people over, but I really liked it. And I certainly had like some cool moments in this game. I won 2 rounds with a 1, which immediately wins you the game because winning with a 1 is incredibly hard. And I managed
there's only 1-1.
Yeah, I managed to do that twice, and I only engineered it because a little bit of luck, but also clever play. Kind of thinking a couple of steps ahead. So there's definitely more strategy to that game than I initially gave it credit for, and I had a nice time.
At number 5, we have White Castle, which is a game I played, but you did not. White Castle seemed to be like the darling of our friend group, at least.
I think it was the darling of Spiel.
Essen, of Spiel.
But so I haven't played this, but I watched the rules tutorial. Is it the case that it's the demure Euro game of the convention?
Demure?
Yeah. You know, like it doesn't do anything too spectacular, but what it does competently enough that it's like
maybe.
fine.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it has some interesting mechanisms within it. Like, so it's some dice placement, cool. But you have these little bridges, and you take one of the dice off either end of the bridge. One end is a higher number, and the other end is a lower number, but it gives you a bonus based on your cards on your player board. So it does a few things really well. My biggest issue with it was that it had this, what I was calling the seagull track, but I think it's a heron or a crane or something like that, which I couldn't really see the point of. It just gives you points and allows you some flexibility for turn order, which is fine. And it works in something like Pipeline, but I don't know that it really added much here at all. But I played this very tired, like I played most of these games at Spiel, honestly. And I don't think I got the most out of it that I could have done.
Pipeline has a track?
Yeah, for turn order.
Oh, where you manipulate turn order.
Yes.
But that's not a track. This is an actual track. This is like you go up as far the track as you can, and the further you are, you get points.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just a track of points. And there's so many things to think about in this game because you're trying to move your little pieces up the track, through the court, into this like area that will score you points. And you have 3 different types of pieces. You have gardeners and fighters of some kind. I don't know what they are. And then you have just normal people. And the fighters will get you points based on how many normal people are in the court. The gardeners will give you points at the end of the rounds, and they will all do different things. There are so many things to be keeping track of that this track that was literally just point scoring
felt superfluous.
And But it is important because I undervalued it because I was like, this is boring. I'm not doing this thing, this seagull track. And then didn't score any points based on it, which there was quite a big swing of points of how many points you could score on that track. So if you got it up to the highest, it was something like 16 points or 20 points, right? So that was quite a big difference. But I enjoyed the game, but I just found that bit superfluous.
I mean, the thing that looks the most interesting to me in that game is the innovative action selection mechanism, where like you can take a high die and that'll likely give you coins, and the coins are useful because if you take a low die and you get a bonus, you have to pay the difference between the number on the action spot where you're putting it down. Like it's like managing whether you take a high die now and get the action that you want with extra coins, or then you have to like it looks very constrained, like because most of the game is either get resources or then spend resources to put out these men into the various spaces to that'll give you points.
Thing, right? That's not a new thing. Loads of games do that, but it does do it well. It does it fairly smoothly, and I think it is the kind of game that you would need I would need a few plays of to understand what everything does and how it works, because there are 3 different types of people to control. There's different places on the board that you can go to get different things. There are 4 different types of resources that you're going up tracks and spending, and they all do different things.
And the actions change, right, as well, because the actions are on cards, and once you send people to those places where the cards are, you get to take the card and then replace it with a new card. It looks interesting and small, which is kind of good because it's a small box with a lot in it, which I am all for. This is the way forward. Small box, lots of game.
And number 4, we have Come Sail Away.
This is the really good game territory now. The next 4 games I think are pretty good. Come Sail Away was a nice surprise. It's from Sashi and Sashi. It's the biggest Sashi and Sashi box I've ever seen. I don't know if the game really needed that many components.
I don't know if the box needed to be that big.
Yeah, I mean, they are mostly economical with their box size. This was a surprise in how big it was. Like, I don't know, it's like nearly a Feast for Odin size. Not quite that big, but about that big, in terms of box size. The game is not a Feast for Odin. It's fairly light. I would call it Snake the Euro game. You basically have a cruise ship, and each round you get 2 cards. You pick one of them. You'll have some colored meeples on them, and then you have to snake these meeples across your ship. And the difficulty is that the different colors want to be in different rooms, and so you want to snake them the most efficiently, because anytime a color doesn't match the right room, like that's an angry passenger.
The passenger becomes disgruntled.
Negative point immediately.
You can rescue them back though.
There is a track where if you place the passenger with the luggage in the right room, you also get to go up the luggage track. Exciting.
Because the passenger is happy.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I've never been that excited about going up the luggage track. And I thought I was doing really well. I thought, I'm going to get to the end of that track. And then you realize there's only 12 rounds in the game. It's a very quick game. It's like a half-hour Euro game. It's like if you took what's that game where you move a worker?
What's that game where you move
Istanbul?
a worker?
Is it Istanbul? Is that the name of the game?
That you're thinking of?
Yes.
I don't know.
Is there a game called Istanbul?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Istanbul.
Okay.
I think.
You sound sure.
Yeah, it feels like that, but with like a third of the rules, and all you're doing is you're going plunk, 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 snake. You
don't
meeples.
have to say snake. I don't think that's a good idea to say snake on a boat.
I am making it an official house rule. Every time you place a meeple, you have to say
snake.
Plunk.
Oh,
and then when you finish, you go snake.
Okay.
There we go.
The only thing I found with this game is it felt a little messy. Because, one of us might have placed all our people really quickly, and then someone else, we were still waiting for them. And because you are passing on the card that you didn't play and you're taking a new one, it was a little bit confusing. Is this the one that you've just passed me, or is this the one that I didn't play?
Yeah.
It was a little bit messy, and it was the 12 rounds came very, very quickly.
It's very sprawling for what it is,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of components, but it's got some really nice touches. Like rooms only have a certain amount of occupancy, like 3 meeples, that's it, right? As soon as you fill that room up, it flips. It'll score you points, which is really good. But like every time you put a meeple now on that room, because it doesn't go away, it's not like the space consolidates, it's still there. Like, so you have to start sending passengers to a full room. They're like, hello, well, this is my cabin. No, it's not. Get out. We live here already, right?
I like the room that needed one of 4 different types of passenger.
Yeah, that was
they
the
weren't
sitting
allowed
room.
The sitting room, because they didn't want to be together like with their own kind. They didn't want another one.
They wouldn't have conversations because it's the sitting room,
yes,
right?
I guess
no,
so.
like I think it's super charming. The artwork is very, it's Sashi and Sashi, so it's got that kind of charming quality to it. I really liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I was surprised by how quick it was because of the simultaneous play. You're right, it feels messy. But once you get into the groove of it, it's like play a card, bong, 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 pass, play a card, bong, 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 pass. That's a 1/6 of the game done. I don't know.
Sometimes you can take meeples out the little bath as well.
It's true. I don't even know how to explain that mechanism.
Was it like a lifeboat? No, what was it? Was it dock? No, I
it
can't
looked
remember
like a
what it was.
bath. It
did
looked
look
like you
a
were
bath.
taking a meeple out of a bath, and that meant you were undisgruntling them. One of the bonuses. It was nice. I know we're describing a fever dream of a cruise ship, but like I had fun. It's a good game. I would recommend it.
And number 3, we have Sky Team.
Ooh. This is like really good game territory now. So Sky Team, do you want to describe Sky Team?
Yeah, Sky Team is a cooperative game where you are working together as pilot and co-pilot to try and land an aeroplane by rolling dice.
Yeah, little known fact that every time you get on an airplane, this is true for real life, right? Whether it lands or not depends on the last round die roll. Because you need an even plane. So if each of you doesn't roll a 4 or a 3, right? Clearly the wings are going to be off, and when you land, you crash. So every time you get on a plane, just think about that.
No,
at the end,
about that.
At the end, the co-pilot and the pilot are going to roll some dice, and whether you crash or not depends on they have the same number or not.
Why are you terrifying everyone?
Well, because I think this game is silly thematically.
Did you think about this game when we were coming back?
Yes, I did. It was slightly terrifying. I was like, is that what they do? They also shoot down other airplanes so they get out of the way.
What?
Well, there's this track that has like these other airplanes,
I
right?
see.
And you have to roll dice to take them off. Because if you
don't
don't...
think they're shooting them, Efka. I think they're signalling to them that we're in this airspace.
Right.
I think you need to move out the way. I think that's thematically what is happening.
I was imagining a different game.
This is not a fierce game.
Okay.
But it's not real time.
No.
So there's not like a timer or anything. You can't discuss as you go, but you can discuss before you start rolling.
Yes.
So you have an opportunity to say, okay, like what's our plan here? And some of the spaces you are obligated to both go to, like for example, like you said, balancing out the wings. Yeah, because if you don't balance out the wings, then you're going to tip. And then there are other spaces where you can choose to go, and some of those spaces require a certain number of dice, and some of them don't. And you need to balance out not only the wings, but at the end, you were in control of the brakes, so I don't quite know how they worked, but you have to get your landing gear down too at the end.
Yeah, so at the end of the game, the last round speed has to be lower than the brake value. So you don't have to increase the brake value at all through the course of the game. But if you don't increase, you'll have to like have a 2, like one person has to have a 2 and another has to have a 1, or a 1 and a 1, right? Because, and then like you need low values elsewhere anyway. So like you kind of want to increase the brake value as you go along, but also increases the brake value, increases the value at like which point the speed is not doubled or the airplane doesn't move because you have to move the airplane far enough. There's so many like little things to juggle, and you can discuss things between the rounds, but like once you roll the dice, you can't talk to each other. And so much depends on these dice values that you have to kind of place a die in such a way as to communicate, like, hey, we said that this is important, but now you're doing something else. Why are you doing that? What happened with your dice? And kind of balance that out.
I mean, the fact that you can discuss it before you roll the dice is quite useful, because there were a couple of times when we discussed it, we rolled our dice, and then I don't know if it was my turn or your turn to go first, but one of us couldn't do it, like clearly couldn't do it, because we didn't immediately just place that die there.
Mm-hmm.
So the other one placed one of their dice in the coffee cup space, which was to make a number higher or lower, one higher or one lower. It didn't wrap around though, so you couldn't make a 6 into a 1. But it was evident that, like, I don't have the die that I need to go with it. So the other one manipulated that and could help. You know, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was really nice. There's these really cool teamwork moments. The coffee mechanism is just hilarious. Like, yeah, it does let you manipulate the die, but thematically it's like, well, we've done everything for this round. I'm going to go make some coffee or something like that, you know.
In the plane.
In the plane, yeah. No one, I guess it's like taking the time to drink the coffee. But like,
I guess.
We had, at the end of the game, we've done everything we needed to do, and there was one die left over. So I was just like, well, the plane's landing. I'm going to go make some coffee, you know. Like, whatever. It's a very funny game, but it's also a really smart game. It's 2-player only, you know. It is not real time, but it is kind of roll dice and then try to communicate stuff about your dice. It's got a lot of scenarios. We only played the easiest one, so definitely more words on Sky Team on the future. But there was something about its thematic integration and how easy it was to play and how self-contained the idea is, and how you have to shoot down airplanes that are in the way.
No, again. No.
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
At number 2, we have the same game.
What? Sky Team?
Funny. When I went to pick up this game, someone in front of me in the queue said, could I have whatever game it was? It wasn't this game. It was a different game. And the person, you know, gave them the game. And then I walked up and said, can I have the same game? And they tried to give me that game. I was like, no.
Oh, my God.
And then the other person on the booth was like, no, they want the same game. The same game.
Do you know that there are, in fact, 2 board games
I've heard.
on Board Game Geek that are listed as the same game, but they are not the same game.
That is confusing. Do you want to tell us about the same game?
Yeah, so this is from Wolfgang Wash, who you'll be familiar with from such games as Quacks of Quedlinburg or Wavelength.
Games we have enjoyed.
Games we have enjoyed and are good. I think this is his best game.
Better than Quacks?
I think it's better than Quacks. Okay, so it's a different speed than Quacks. It's a lot more like if these are the two kind of polar, I guess no. So you have Taverns of Tiefenthal. That's the most Euro game of Wolfgang Wash, and like Wavelength is the most party game, right? So this is more towards Wavelength than it is towards Taverns of Tiefenthal, but. It's definitely a party game, but it's a good party game. It's you know, kind of Codenames level, I think, that kind of game, which is really good. I really enjoyed it. It's very hard to describe the idea. So the reason it's called the same game is because it's not the same game, it's the same game. And the idea is that each of you have an object and a category assigned to that object. But the categories are things like length or,
importance for humanity.
Or, you know, volume or frequency in the world, right? Stuff like that, right? So let's say I get like PS5 is my object, right? And then I get a category like volume, right? But there's also all these other categories like price or frequency in the world or length or, you know, importance to humanity, like you said. So my job in this entire game is to communicate which category the PS5 corresponds to that I've randomly drawn. So let's say I've drawn length, did I say? Yeah, let's say length,
No,
right?
you said volume.
Volume. Okay, let's say volume, right? So the way I do that is by writing down any other existing object that has the same volume as a PS5, but doesn't give
Correspond to any of the others.
categories, right? And depending on how well I write that down, because I could write down like Xbox S or whatever, and I don't know if the same volume or whatever, but it would be a terrible clue because the price is going to be similar.
Importance for humanity is probably similar.
Intended use, right?
Yeah. No, that would be very confusing.
That would be very confusing. So I have to come up with something that is the same volume, but like totally different,
Usage.
in usage in all other categories or whatever. So I could come up with like a feast for Odin, and maybe, the similar volumes, but even intended use is to play a game, right? So that's already confusing. So it's a weird game, but the way that it works is that when it's my turn to give this clue, I have to have everyone close their eyes. I flip the token that corresponds to my category, like, because there's a number token. But then I put cups, and there's these nice, like,
shot glass
Again. Cups, right? I put cups over all the categories, right? And then people take off cups that they think is the wrong category.
Yes.
So they don't actually want to guess my category. They want to eliminate all the other ones. And I think that one specific rule is kind of what makes the game, because you take them off one by one. And as long as you don't pick the right category, you're doing better and better and better.
Because those cups that you take off go on the score track.
Yes.
And that's how many points you will score.
Exactly, right? And I don't know, there's just something really charming about that, because it's not like this immediate, like, oh, you win, or oh, you lose, but more like, oh, bit by bit, and then the tension rises and people are constantly discussing. I think it's what makes the game, and it's really, really nice.
It's also coming up with the clue. That was really, really daft. One of my words was scythe, and my category was intended use. And I thought, oh my gosh, I know what a scythe is. It's like a farming implement. What else has like intended use but doesn't have the same like volume or frequency in the world or blah? And I couldn't think of anything. And then I thought, wait, Scythe is also a board game. What can I do for that? So I did that instead. So it's thinking about how you can use that word to your advantage in some way. It was very funny.
I had toilet brush.
Yeah, you
and
did.
I came up with microscope because my category was length, and I thought they couldn't be two more different objects.
No.
But they're about the same
We were
length.
like, it's not intended use. And there was one that was, I don't remember what it was, but we said, no, it can't be that because a toilet brush has fluff on the end of it and a microscope doesn't. Like, it was very silly.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. It's quite quick. It's very charming. The artwork on it is lovely.
Yeah. The
design is what you expect from Wolfgang Warsch, really. It works really, really well. It's a very social, communal game. It sort of transcends that party game boundary in the same way that Codenames does, because it feels like it feels more than just like your average party game. It's very social and very discussion based, and it gets the entire table involved. I think a lot of people will enjoy the same game. I think it might be a hit. It's really good.
Our number one game that we played this Essen Spiel was Infiltrators.
Spelt with an I.
I mean, it's always spelled with an I.
No.
Otherwise it would be Onfiltrators or
Funny.
Unfiltrators.
You know what I mean? The word traitors. It's traitors, not like, because infiltrators, the traitors part doesn't have an I normally in the word.
Yeah.
This has an I. I'm just clarifying so people can actually find the game.
I see.
This is such a good game. I think, I don't know if there's like hype around it or whatever. I think people should pay attention to Infiltrators. I think this is so good. And I had such a blast playing it. You played it twice, didn't you?
I did.
Was it as good both times?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I said to you, you need to play this game.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I was blown away. So in some ways, this isn't like anything new. It's a deduction card game, a cooperative deduction card game where, much like, say, something like in The Crew, like, I think this is better than The Crew. Like, honestly, much like something in The Crew, you need to like figure out information to succeed, right? About a card or whatever, or what your partners have in their, but it's not in their hands. It's so hard to describe.
No, you have, so on your turn, you can take a suspect and put it in front of you. So it's facing you and the back of it is facing everyone else. So they know you have a card, but they do not know what is on that card. You know what's on that card, but they do not. And then they have to try and guess what that card is by placing a card, giving you a card, and you either put it horizontally, which means nothing corresponds to what I have on my card, or you put it vertically, which means something corresponds to what I have on my card in front of me.
This is the clever part as well, because when you say corresponds, it's either the card's suit, so it could be like green or yellow or black or red or whatever. Mm-hmm. I think there's like an extra suit in higher level scenarios.
Yes.
Or the number that you've put down on the card that you're like putting down as a clue. The number on the hidden card is divisible?
Yeah, each card has a certain number of smaller numbers that are divisible by the big number. And so if it's any of the ones, either the big one or it can't be the big one because there is only one of each type of card. Or it could be if it was a different suit, actually. That's false. But yeah, if it's either the big number or any of the little numbers, then you place it vertically to say something corresponds.
Yeah, so let's say you have a green free. So the card will be green, it will have a free, but next to that free, it will also have 3, 6, 9, 12. I don't know if there's a 15.
I think there's a 15,
Yeah, it'll have a 15 as well, right? So if the hidden card that the person is holding is, say, a 9, then if you put down a free, this will count as like a valid clue because what it's saying is that the hidden card is divisible by the card that you just put down. And that's a weird concept to wrap your head around when I'm describing it over a podcast. But when you see it visually, it's so obvious. It's such a clear concept. And it's very easy to explain, surprisingly, when you see the cards in front of you.
Yeah, I'm not that great at maths, but it didn't confuse me.
Yeah. And so every time someone puts down a card, like you're kind of eliminating information about what that card could be. And the really clever part is that you could put down a card as a clue yourself for your own card. And it's like, basically you're saying, you dum-dums, you're not thinking about this right. Like, this is what you need to pay attention to. And it's such a cool moment. And you only have a certain number of guesses throughout the game, and you need to guess a certain number of cards, right, to win. But the cool thing about it is, like, when you kind of, let's say, get it down to 50-50, right? So, like, you know, it could be two possible cards. And then the person next to you, because you can't, like, discuss about what you have in your hands, the person next to you goes, I'm going to guess. And you go, what the are you doing? You horrible, horrible person. We narrowed it down to 50-50 and you're just going to take a shot, right? What's happening? And then you realize, wait a minute, no. They have something in their hand that's telling them it can't be the other card.
That situation actually happened because I was like, okay, I know, I'm going to guess.
Yeah.
And you were like, why? Why are you doing this? And then I was like, because I can't say anything, but because I had that card in my hand. So I don't remember what the 50-50 was, but we knew the suit, and it was between, say, 5 and 15. And I had the 15 in my hand. And because there is only one card of each
suit number
in that suit, I knew it had to be the 5. So, yeah, it's super clever like that.
And also, every time you kind of eliminate certain numbers, some of them go to like this shared board, which means nothing can ever be these cards.
Yes.
Because they're already on display. They're not available in the circulation of cards. So, you know, it can't be those. So there's this like nice ramping up of information because, and again, this is the genius part. Multiple people can have hidden cards. You're not just guessing one person's card. Anyone can draw a suspect that needs to be eliminated. And and you can guess about multiple people's things. So by eliminating one person's number, you're suddenly getting information about other people's numbers. And there's like some real clever interplay in that's happening. And there's so many just these cool brainwave moments that you get in this game that are like, oh, but if I do this, I eliminate that. And things are happening.
Sometimes it's a 50-50 in your head of, okay, I'm going to play this card, and either it will tell me a lot of information or it will tell me nothing.
Yeah.
Because either you will eliminate all of these numbers or you won't.
Yeah.
And that's cool. That's interesting.
I think in terms of cleverness, this game is as clever as The Crew. But in terms of fun and explaining this game to other people, it's much easier. And so what you have is a game that's more accessible than The Crew, but just as crunchy and brainwavy as The Crew. And there's something there. There's something really, really cool happening there. And I think a lot of people should try it. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it a lot.
The only thing was that on the lower scenarios, on the basic scenarios that we played, we did end up in a situation where there were loads of bullets left. So, because I think you have a spare 2 or 3 bullets that you could guess and it wouldn't be right. And we ended up with like loads of these, like 3 or whatever. And so we could just take a shot, at the end and go, well, I think it's this. And if it's a 50-50, it doesn't matter because if I get it wrong, there's another one. But I think that wouldn't happen in the more difficult scenarios because I think it would be more down to the knuckle.
Well, the thing is, if you shoot and you shoot the wrong suspect, don't you like eliminate the card entirely or something like that? I think you can't guess about that card anymore. You have to start over.
That's not how we played it.
Okay.
But we did play it slightly wrong anyway. We played it on like a harder mode because we put all the cards face down.
Right.
Rather than having some face up. So we had some open information. We put them all face down. So maybe we got it slightly wrong. But no, that's not how we played it.
I think definitely the starting scenario is a touch on the easy side. But there's enough scenarios there where you can really ramp up the difficulty. My only complaint about it was that there is a physical cardboard gun prop. And when you're meant to like eliminate a target, when you're guessing basically, is this card? You're meant to take the gun and point it at the person, at the suspect. And all our American friends immediately went, no.
But none of us played it like that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I am not comfortable doing that. So we just sort of put a finger on it just to say, this is what I'm doing. It was just like to be like, I'm going to do this now. And then everyone can go, no. Or, yeah, okay. It was just to signify that you were going to do it. But nobody actually picked up that gun because that was iffy.
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing I would say about this game that's a little iffy, but you can play it without pointing the thing. Just be aware of that is what I would say. Otherwise, stellar game, honestly. Really, really cool design. Want to play more Infiltrators right now.
We can, because it's 2-player, 2 to 4.
I don't know if it's good at 2. I guess we'll find
see.
out. We'll see. In a future podcast / maybe video to come.
And that's all the games we played at Essen Spiel.
But wait, no, they're not all the games because there's more games in the bonus episode, which you can have access to if you become a supporter on Patreon. Patreon.com/NoPunIncluded will give you access to a bunch of bonus episodes of this podcast. Every time we release an episode, we release a bonus episode. In this bonus episode, we're going to talk about more games from Essen Spiel. These ones are not commercially available, but we talk about 4 and 3 of them are very good. They're all trick takers, so it's oops all trick takers, I guess. But yeah, some of them are cool. They're very cool. You want to hear about them. If you're into games, you want to know about the cool trick takers. Patreon.com/NoPunIncluded.
If you have anything to say about any of the games that we've spoken about, don't forget to drop me an email, Elaine@NoPunIncluded. Thank you so much for listening. And at this point, I would normally ask you, Efka, what is the game of the episode?
Easy, El Grande. And with that, why don't you say goodbye, El Grande? No, wait, that's wrong.
Goodbye, El Grande. Oh, wait, no, that's wrong.
Goodbye, El Grande. Oh, wait, no, that's wrong.